So I was back in the UK and visiting friends, and I got this amazing email from Tony, which was a picture of Tony standing at what looked like a big river cave exit, and just said, "Rob, I think you better come back to New Zealand as soon as you can. I've found this amazing cave in Golden Bay." So I was, on the first flight back. He said, "Rob, I've got to warn you, this is tiger country. This is really, really tough country. Pretty steep and pretty treacherous. And this was in the middle of winter, so these gorges are dark, frosty, and the rocks get glazed, the streams get glazed, it's very slippery. Temperature probably gets up to about 4 or 5 degrees.
From the Ironstone Creek itself, you can't actually see the entrance to the cave. You've got to go up the stream bed for climbing up all these boulders. And you just come over the top of the last few boulders, and there's this lovely 5 metre by 5 metre wide kind of square entrance.
When we got to the entrance, I immediately knew that this was a great cave, because stood at the entrance there was just this incredible cold draft blowing out of the cave. The first trip in the cave, I just followed Tony. The further we went, the more impressed I was that he'd been there before. I also established on his previous trips that no one even knew he was in Ironstone Gorge, never mind the cave in Ironstone Gorge, but he said he didn't really want to worry his parents, so that's how he liked it. So a few hundred metres into Ironstone, the duck really is the first obstacle of any kind.
So the roof comes down to within probably about 2 inches of the water, and in certain weather conditions, all the air going down through the cave, it just gets forced through this space. It's the only way through the cave.
That rumble you can hear, that's not actually water, that's wind. And right here we've got a section where there's a very low airspace, and the only way out for the air is through this airspace here. And it's just howling the gale, it's amazing. It's whipping spray off the water, and really very exciting. So we have to go through that, which means that we have to pretty much put half your body under the water to get through. And the water's absolutely freezing.
Once he'd gone through, I just followed him. It seemed straightforward, but it turns out that there was the potential to get it very wrong. The further in we went, the more it was going to turn from horizontal caving into climbing. So there was about a 15-metre high flowstone slope. So if you slipped there, you were definitely going to go all the way down. Kind of looked like further up the slope there was something sticking out of the wall that we thought we could sort of hang a loop of wire over and just sort of climb up the wire. Turned out that what we thought was a protrusion of solid rock was just a flake, just resting on the slope. So he literally just put a wire loop over a loose rock, and it just happened to catch the tiniest little bump on the floor. Would have been a really bad place to have had an accident, so we were really lucky there. So the further we went into the cave, we knew that it was going to get steeper and steeper, and that these verticals would get larger. That seemed inevitable. After about a kilometre, it really opened up. It got enormous. Huge chamber, but at the far end of it we could hear the roar of a far bigger waterfall than we'd come across until now. We estimate it was about 18-metre high, overhanging waterfall, badly overhanging, and it was really awful, shaly, rock. It was really friable, and you looked at it and you thought, I don't even know how you'd bolt this. We were at a loss really. We'd given up on our possibility of extending further. It was beyond us.
And the cave disappeared into legend, really, into local legend. And you hear these kind of whispers every now and then about this possible cave in the Ironstone Creek, the Tuckaga Cave as they found it. Now, I got to know Rob and Tony, and we started talking about the Ironstone Cave, and they were really keen to go back.
So, took Kieran and Chris Whitehouse to Ironstone, and they just became, frankly, obsessed with finding a way up through the thing, because it was obvious that we hadn't found the best of it. Just as we guys were surveying downstream, we'd heard that Kieran and Tony and Chris had passed the big waterfall, and this story came back of this avon so high that they couldn't see the top. Kieran estimated it was 60 metres high. Tony said at least 100 metres high, but I think it's just that Kieran had a better light than Tony. When I saw it for myself, I was just blown away. It looked frankly ridiculous.
Even though it looked like a really difficult way forward, I remember Kieran being so excited to find a new climb, and I couldn't believe that, because I knew it was going to take him a while to get to the top of that.
I love aid climbing, I really enjoy it. All you do is you build an anchor and you attach yourself to the anchor, and then you reach up as high as you can and build another anchor, and then you put a ladder on that, climb up that anchor and climb onto it, and then reach up again and build another anchor, and just keep doing that over and over again. I did it over several days. I think it took 5 trips to get to the top. On the last trip I was by myself, aiding up the last 10 metres or so, and then the last move I had to haul myself over this big overhang, and in front of me there's this pure white flagstone slope getting up into the blackness, and it just blew me away. I was pretty shattered after the climb. I'll just lay there just going, oh my goodness, this is the most amazing present I've ever had. It's such a beautiful sight. All these white beautiful formations, these crystal flows, yeah, it's stunning.
We were now into a section of the cave that hadn't been flooded for a very long time.
There were moa bones all over the place, and there were kiwi bones and weka bones, there were snail shells. So this is a moa pelvis. And moa is an ancient bird that used to roam around New Zealand, quite a small little moa we found in the bush. Pelvis here, we've got one of its leg bones here, the toe bones, the toes would have come off here. It kind of smelt like the outside, you know, we were thinking, why aren't we outside? We could smell the dirt. This feels like we're in the entrance here somewhere.
So if you can imagine a whole bunch of cavers wandering around in the forest, armed with GPS receivers and a map showing the cave under their feet. It's a simple job. Walk over the line of the cave and find the entrance. So lots of trips into the forest with GPS, lots of holes looked down, some enormous holes that looked like they might be the entrance, proved to be just nothing. I compiled it all. I collected everyone's GPS tracks, I put it all on a map, and it seemed we'd crisscrossed this whole area between us thoroughly. We'd found perhaps 15 or 20 holes, checked them all out. And then Michelle just sort of casually shouted, come and look at this one. Weirdly, my map showed that we'd all walked past it before. And this shaft was in exactly the right spot. It was right over a really large part of the Ironstone Canyon, so this looked like it.
This has got to be it. It's drafting like crazy. It looked exactly the same.
So we got two teams. We had a team that went into the cave from the bottom, and another team went to the surface.
That looks awkward. That looks pretty tight. We must be so bloody close to the surface.
Martin from Kieran, over.
Yeah, I can hear you, Kieran. Just give us one more shout, please. One more shout down the hole, please. We can hear them. We can hear them.
For the first time, people in the cave could speak to people at the surface. Things got really exciting.
As soon as they heard me, man, they just started digging. You hear them digging like crazy.
With the other team or just amongst yourselves?
Who's touching who? Keep it PG, please.
Hey! It was amazing sound to hear you guys talking. I just couldn't believe it. So fucking
First ever through trip. Not the guy who found it, or the guys who pushed it, but just some guy who showed up on the day with it put through. A lovely, lovely timing.
Just cameraman.
The cameraman's the first guy through. Excellent.
It was an incredible moment to be able to finally get through and make that connection.
pretty cool to get this project finished. Wow, it's pretty exciting actually. Really exciting. Looking forward to getting back on the surface and having a glass of champagne. It's bloody awesome. There's daylight up there. Look, it's daylight.
You sure you don't want to come back down, Kieran, so you're first up? I'd recommend the down through trip.
Okay, hang on. As opposed to the up through trip.
Yeah, the up through trip's not that good.
Yes!
Hey!
Last.
We were all really stoked. We had this big bunch of people who didn't know each other at the start of the project, and we all came together as good friends. And to have them all involved in that connection was great.
Whoa! That was impressive.
I suppose, in a way, a lot of people look at that and go, "Why? You know, why are we doing this?" And often I kind of try and answer that question myself, and wander along a beach. I wandered along a beach in Tauranga a few weeks ago, and I looked at people sitting on a beach and go, "Well, why are you guys doing this?" So the best side of it for me is the actual making really good friends and keeping those really good friendships through having a really good, really hard experience. When you're able to go somewhere where no one's ever been before and walk somewhere that's never seen light, and you're the first person to see it, is pretty special.